Hey everyone, just a quick intro. So I was having a few problems with my Hero 5 session. There was a few battery faults on it and it kept on draining, and there was a few other issues, I think possibly overheating. After a bunch of Googling and going on the GoPro website, which was really helpful actually, did a new firmware update. I'm still sort of having the problems. So the weekend I went back to John Lewis with my receipt. Guys at John Lewis were really good. Excellent customer service, had no problems with them whatsoever. They were happy to refund me or just swap it out or whatever I wanted. I took the choice. They didn't actually have the Hero 5 in the session. They didn't actually have the session in stock anymore, so I took the option of spending an extra 45 quid and getting the Hero 5 Black because it had come down in price. So whereas before, when I originally decided to go with the session, the Hero 5 Black seemed like it was a little bit too expensive for what I wanted the GoPro for. Although initially it was the actual model that I wanted. Now it's coming down in price, and John Lewis were quite happy to sort of give me a credit towards that with, you know, sort of no issues and no problems. It meant for just an extra 45 quid I'd got a camera that's effectively was 150 quid more expensive in the first place, so bonus. Yeah, so one of the things that's really cool about the Hero Black is it's got a bunch of other settings for filmmaking, which enable you to do different things to sort of get away from that sort of standard action camera sort of feel. And so we're going to give it a bit of a play tonight, and hopefully we can show you some of those settings. We're going to our regular Volkswagen meet tonight, so it's not really bike related, I'm afraid. And apparently there's a football game on. There's something called the World Cup happening, and England are in it. And that's like a really good thing for the country, but all us cyclists and mountain bikers probably don't really get it. I'm only joking, obviously. We're all football fans in the World Cup, aren't we? I don't know. Anyway. Here we are at a little Volkswagen meet. We meet every other Monday. Just a little club that we have. We've all got like old classic campers and Volkswagen, the Beetles and stuff like that. But yeah, I thought I'd just do a little bit of filming. This is the standard straight out of the box settings for the GoPro. So everything's pretty much an automatic, shooting at 1080p, I think about 60 frames a second. On the wide mode, so it's like super wide. So I'm actually quite close. If I put that sort of hand distance away, it's obviously really wide, and if it's right, you should be getting quite a lot of the shot in the background, and obviously get quite close and so on and so forth. But yeah, let's have a film some of the vehicles, go through some of the settings, and see if we can show you some of the differences with the new Hero 5 Black. Just bought it. Yep.
So here's a pretty cool example to kind of show you what we can do with the different settings. This is Catherine's new van, really colourful, really bright. She's decorated inside, but she's parked it, I suppose you can see, right under a tree. It's quite shady, it's quite dark, and the light's obviously a bit funny. It gives us a bit of a challenge in terms of filming. Obviously on the auto mode, the GoPro will automatically correct it, so we'll film a little bit with the auto mode, and then hopefully we'll change some settings and see if we can improve it slightly, or at least give us some raw footage so we can improve it later on in post. So yeah, as you can see, straight out the box, really colourful in here, but like I was saying, it's in a lot of shadow, so it's got some dark patches. So if you're not used to sort of camera settings and things, it does handle it quite well out the box on the auto settings, and it's obviously on that wide angle setting. So let's see if we can have a play. I've just had a quick change of the settings. I've put it up to 2.5K, and I've changed some of the automatic settings, and we've now put it in linear mode, which gets rid of the curvature to the actual camera, that sort of GoPro fisheye look. So hopefully it makes it a little bit more dynamic and cinematic. We've also taken the GoPro colours off, which I think initially will make the colours less punchy, but it will give us what we call flat colours, and that means we get in the actual natural colours that we see in the van. So we'll have a quick pan around and see what we can do with it. Walk around, but what I've done now is I've actually gone into the medium format mode now, so it should be a lot closer on my face and stuff without actually being that much closer to the camera. So we'll have a little wander around. As you can see, there's some canal barges in the background, and we'll see what we can film over here. The linear mode is something that I'm quite excited about. I'm hoping that it gets rid of that sort of classic GoPro action camera sort of look, where you've got the big fisheye and lots of curve. What it does is it turns the GoPro into effectively what we'd call like a 35mm prime lens for a camera. But it's pretty cool. There's a few other features. One of the things that I've just done as well, going into the manual settings in ProTune, it's something I encourage everyone to explore. Obviously, if you're not a professional photographer or you've not got any sort of basic photography knowledge, ProTune can be a little bit daunting. I would advise you go on YouTube, do some basic searches for sort of tutorials on sort of like frame rates and shutter speeds and things like that, and sort of get your head around sort of the photography basics. One of the tips I can give you is, whatever your frame rate is, for example, I'm shooting this at 60 frames per second. What I've done is I've set my shutter speed to 120th of a second, and that's usually the optimum size. You can go higher and lower than that, and that does give you different effects on the camera. But yeah, definitely play with that. In terms of changing your ISO and your automatic settings, that is something that you're going to have to really think about. You easily get yourself caught out when you're shooting, that you forget that you're not in an automatic mode. You get so used to things like the GoPro being automatic, so when you're shooting, you don't have to worry about your exposures too much. And then of course you turn it off and you put it in like an ISO 400. Obviously the lower the ISO, the better the quality, but that also means is it's less sensitive to the light. So suddenly you go into a section like I did earlier when we go inside the van, and there's not as much light, and it's under a canopy of trees and there's a bit of shadow, and if you're shooting at ISO 400 in there, it's going to be really dark and underexposed, and you're going to lose a lot of the detail that you want to capture. However, that said, as a rule of thumb in photography, it's always better to be underexposed than it is to be overexposed, or at least that's in my opinion it is anyway. I always feel that when you underexpose something, you can always save it a little bit in post, whereas if you overexpose it and burn it all out with light, you just can't get that detail back and that information back. So yeah, so sorry it's not a bike related video this time, but hopefully that gives you an idea of some of the new settings on the GoPro and some of the things that you guys can do on your GoPro. It's not all about just sticking it on your chest mount, sticking it in your helmet and just doing single runs or 30-second runs. So think about the narrative, think about the story that you're trying to tell, or try and at least make it into a story, the journey, the road trip, whatever it may be, and go out there and shoot some cool videos. I think that's it, guys. So yeah, I shall catch you next time. As always, please, if you've got any questions, leave it in the comments. You know, feel free to share, like, subscribe, do all that sort of jazz, and we'll see you soon. Speak to you soon. Bye.